Trust me, every spring when white asparagus is in season in Germany, this delicious and refreshing asparagus cream soup delights both locals and visitors alike. So let's make some in this episode. If you can get your hands on some fresh asparagus, that is. You will need some cream, all-purpose flour, butter, some salt, sugar, as well as a lemon. Last but not least, around a dozen of these lanky, pale asparagus sticks. We will need to start by cutting off the wood-like ends of the asparagus stem, which are difficult to chew and would take forever to cook through. Around half an inch should suffice, so you can see it's juicy, shiny inside. We will also need to remove most of the asparagus skin, especially in the lower 2/3. Around the neck and head, the skin is rather soft and will turn tender once cooked, so no need to peel it there. Grab your tool of choice and peel off the asparagus skin. Make sure to keep it, as we will need it to create our asparagus stock in upcoming steps. I peeled a bunch of asparagus, tried a few techniques, and can confidently say that this one is the best. Place the shoulder of the asparagus between your thumb and middle finger and use your index finger to slightly rotate the asparagus in order to peel it safely and conveniently. Do not apply too much pressure or the asparagus head might fall off. Once peeled, we will transfer the asparagus skin and wood-like stumps into a large enough pot, add a teaspoon of salt as well as sugar, and top up with 2 happy slices of lemon. Fill the pot with 1.5 liters of hot water, transfer to your stove and let boil over medium heat for 15 minutes. While that's boiling, let's chop the asparagus into even, bite-sized pieces. We'll separate the thin heads from the thicker body, as the larger diameter means a longer cooking time. Set the asparagus heads aside in a separate bowl and chop the stems next. Mine were a bit too long, but I got a big mouth, so it was not the end of the world. However, I highly suggest that you opt for 1 inch or 2 to 3 centimeters, especially if you're going to serve this tasty soup to your children. Set aside and get a big enough bowl and sieve ready, which you will use as a catch basin for the asparagus stock and separate it from the skin. Place the asparagus blocks into the empty pot, but remember to wait before adding the heads, as they will need less time to finish cooking. Discard the asparagus skin and pour the hot asparagus stock into the pot. Let cook over medium heat for 5 minutes. Subsequently, add the asparagus heads and finish cooking together for another 10 minutes. Once cooked, we will strain everything through a sieve, set the asparagus aside and reserve 800 ml of the stock for our soup base. Don't discard the remaining stock yet, as you might want to add it to your soup later, depending on your consistency preference, creamy thick or soupy thin. Next up, in an empty pot over medium-low heat, we'll melt the butter, and once it begins to sing, drop in the all-purpose flour, whisk well and sweat it for a minute or 2. Make sure that the heat is not too high and don't scorch it. I suggest you opt for rather low than medium heat in the beginning. We don't want any burnt flavors to negatively impact your soup's taste. We will then gradually add the asparagus stock, 1 ladle at a time, whisking well between each addition to minimize the amount of flour lumps in your German asparagus soup. The butter-flour mixture should turn from sticky glue to something like melted cheese before becoming fully liquid and slightly creamy. If you're looking for a healthier asparagus soup version, you can already stop here and proudly serve this to your guests, as it also tastes great. However, we will stir in some heavy cream here and turn it into a rich asparagus cream soup. Season it to taste with some freshly ground black pepper, more salt if necessary, as well as some more lemon juice to your liking. I personally also like adding some freshly ground nutmeg, which is totally optional though. And there you go, Spargelcremesuppe, the perfect way to savor Germany's precious white asparagus. Creamy and fresh, with mild chunks of asparagus that are not too crunchy nor too soggy. Sprinkle some finely chopped parsley on top and enjoy. Guten Appetit!